So following the UK Supreme Court's verdict on prorogation of Parliament, MPs have now returned to Westminster to spend more time shouting at each other and blocking democracy. Now, at first, these Remainer MPs were quite excited about coming back because somehow they thought now that they have an extra few days, they're going to find a way to stop Brexit. They've had over 3 years. If they had something up their sleeves, we would have known. Apart from the Ben bill, the surrender bill, they don't really have anything else because there's no majority for them to do a vote of no confidence against Boris Johnson, because a lot of the Remainer MPs don't really want to have Jeremy Corbyn as the interim leader. They clearly don't want a general election. They don't believe in democracy, obviously. And there's nothing else that they could do to also revoke Article 50, because there's also not a majority in Parliament to revoke Article 50. But Parliament being recalled massively backfired on Remainers, because the Boris Johnson government came out strongly in favour of people and people power and democracy, and they were quite robust with their speeches and their rhetoric.
This Parliament is a dead Parliament. It should no longer sit. It has no moral right to sit on these green benches, and whatever they don't like the truth. Twice they have been asked to let the electorate decide upon whether they should continue to sit in their seats, while they block 17.4 million people's votes. This Parliament is a disgrace. Given the opportunity, since I am asked, let me tell them the truth. They could vote no confidence at any time, but they're too cowardly. They could agree to a motion to allow this House to dissolve, but they're too cowardly to give it a go. This Parliament should have the courage to face the electorate. But it won't. It won't, because so many of them are really all about preventing us leaving the European Union at all. But the time is coming. The time is coming, Mr. Speaker, when even these turkeys won't be able to prevent Christmas.
Yes, Parliament is a disgrace. This Parliament is not representing the British people, and that's why people are turning against it. And this was Boris Johnson's response.
Mr. Speaker, the right honourable gentleman is being gagged. He's being muzzled. He's being held captive by his colleagues. They won't let him say what he wants to say. I say, free the Islington One, Mr. Speaker. And why won't they allow him to have an election, Mr. Speaker? Why won't they allow him to unleash his charms on the electorate? It's because they're not only terrified that he's going to lose, but also even more terrified by the remote possibility that he might win. He can't control his own party. He can't decide whether he's for Leave or for Remain. He's being held captive by his colleagues. The electorate are being held captive by this zombie parliament and this zombie opposition, and he wants the entire country to be held captive in the EU after October the 31st at a cost of more than £1 billion a month. We say no. I say no. Let's get Brexit done and let's take this country forward.
Now, following this, Remainer MPs, especially the Labour politicians, completely lost it. They started standing up and shouting and screaming at the Conservative government. This is one of them.
And a leader like this Prime Minister, to talk about morals and morality is a disgrace. But every word he has uttered No shame today, no shame at all. The fact that this government cynically manipulated the prorogation to shut down this House so that it couldn't work as a democratic assembly. He knows that that is the truth. And to come here with these barristers' bluster to obfuscate the truth, and for a man like him, a party like this, and a leader like this Prime Minister, to talk about morals and morality is a disgrace!
And then from there, the whole thing basically started heating up for absolutely no reason. Now, I'm usually quite calm in my videos, try to be, but last night, I almost lost my temper. These people have no respect for the will of the people, for the system, for democracy, and they are literally publicly and openly opposing what we believe in. It's quite astonishing what they're trying to do with our country, and they have to be stopped. We need an election now. But fortunately, their rhetoric is not going well for them, because the people in this country, obviously the 52% who voted Brexit, but also a big chunk of people who voted for Remain, are now on the side of the Conservative government and Boris Johnson. 60% now agree, according to Comrades, with Boris Johnson's plan to leave the European Union at the end of October. Now, 60% is obviously the 52% plus the big chunk of the Remain voters. We also have the latest poll for your preference for the next Prime Minister, and Boris Johnson's leading by 41%. Joe Swinson, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, is on 21%, and Jeremy Corbyn on 18%. And on the question of if there should be a general election, 55% of the public agree with Boris Johnson that we should have a general election to get rid of these anti-democratic MPs. Now, with all their anger and their fake emotional, irrational rhetoric, these Remainer MPs decided to then targeting the Conservative front bench and the government by saying that their language is bad. There was a whole discussion, now it's going on today, there's a whole session in Parliament on language, because apparently some of the things that Boris Johnson, Geoffrey Cox and a couple of other Conservative MPs have said, quite harsh. Saying the Ben bill that was going to force the Boris Johnson government to ask for an extension and give the power to the European Union, calling it a surrender act or a surrender bill, apparently is harsh. It's bad. You can't say that. Saying that if you do not respect the referendum result, it's a betrayal of democracy and ordinary people across the country, it's bad. You can't say that. This is the same people who stood up, shouted, labelled Conservatives and Brexiteers certain things that we can't say. They've been going around for years and years, labelling us. You know what they call us. They've called you on the streets. They've called me. We've all lost friends because they completely lost their mind after voting for Remain. And now they're saying surrender bill is too much. Caroline Lucas said, Boris Johnson's response dripping with the arrogance that led him to suspend Parliament. No apology for breaking the law. Only sorry he got caught, not fit to be Prime Minister. Now, Caroline Lucas is not a smart person, but for everyone else who wants to know the truth about the Supreme Court verdict and prorogation of Parliament, they clarified that it was not illegal and Boris Johnson did not lie to the Queen. They basically said that the length of prorogation was quite long, and the Supreme Court basically changed the convention and what we usually use as a constitutional monarchy. And this is a quite kind of risky thing that the Supreme Court has started, and we need to have a proper conversation about the future of the judiciary. But they said it's unlawful, not illegal. There's a difference between unlawful and illegal. No need to apologize and no need to freak out. Julia Hartley-Brewer responded, hey, do you know what might dial down the rhetoric and heal some of the divisions afflicting our politics and our country? How about if everyone agrees to respect the result of the democratic vote to leave the EU? That will be a good start, wouldn't it? Yes, and this is why I will never apologize, and I will continue to use the phrase the surrender bill, because that is what it is. We are surrendering our power and our decision. We are giving everything to the European Union, and that's not the way it should be. This is why we now have 52% of the country agreeing with Boris Johnson against the establishment Remain Parliament. Boris Johnson has now truly become the people's Prime Minister because he's taking the people's side instead of the establishment. And for those that say the sort of language and saying a surrender bill is harsh somehow, This is the sort of thing that we say about socialists, the Labour MPs and Remainers. This is one example. John McDonnell: I want to be in a situation where no Tory MP, no Tory or MP, no coalition minister can travel anywhere in the country or show their face anywhere in public without being challenged by direct action. And you know what this has done? This has turned a lot of people who voted Remain into Brexit. You are creating more Brexiteers, so thank you so much. This is Councillor Leon Walker. I have to say, the events over the past few days has turned me into a Brexiteer. I didn't think I would ever say that. I'm appalled at what so many Remain MPs and campaigners are doing. Our democracy is at risk if we do not respect the voters of this country. Another Remain voter said, I voted Remain but fully accept the result and now back Leave. The behaviour of a lot of Remainer MPs and campaigners has had me shaking my head for some time now. Now, Downing Street are becoming more robust because they are very, very serious about leaving at the end of October. And they know that, especially after last night, no particular deal is going to go through this parliament because it's now completely divided and the Labour Remainers, well, even the moderate ones, are not going to actually vote for it. So they are preparing for the Hail Mary. This is what's going to be happening. Number 10 has told Sky News that if opposition don't take up the no confidence offer tonight, which was last night or today, they assume that Parliament is behind his Brexit plan, and Boris Johnson doesn't rule out a second prorogation in order to achieve it. Well, that's the thing, because the only obstacle we have is the Ben bill, the bill that will force us to ask for an extension. And apparently Downing Street have a couple of plans to avoid doing that. And so stay tuned, Brexit's coming home. And we're going to, because a lot of people put it on a comment section, to also do a new design for the t-shirts for the surrender bill. So I'm going to be working on that, and hopefully tomorrow it should be on our merchandise sites. No, I'm guessing something about saying no to the surrender bill, but I'll come up with something. In the meantime, we still have our People versus Parliament merchandise and t-shirts, coffee mugs and phone cases. So check it out. The link is in the description, and there's a lot of other designs there as well. Brexit means Brexit, obviously, and everything else. I will try and see what happens today in Parliament, and I shall keep you updated tomorrow. Videos come out every day at 5:45 p.m. UK time. And if you want to follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram are down here. If you also want to support the channel, you could become a member of the Cabinet Club. The link will be in the description as always. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell next to it. Otherwise, you won't be notified when I release a new video. Have a great evening. My name is Tousi, and this is the fastest growing centre-right Brexit channel in the country.